Death.
Wow. Fantastic stuff, folks. Really proud of you all. That was pretty scary, right? But you all came out of it thoroughly entertaining, in my opinion. Well, our first guest for today, you already met them. They are a creative director. Not sure what else that means. Oh, here he is. Please welcome Oleg Gyalkan.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, hello at home. How are we doing? Good. It's so good to be here. I'm very excited. I have to pull up my presentation. Give me just one moment. Oh my goodness.
Wow, what country is that accent from?
Oh yeah. We'll get to that.
Great.
So thank you all for having me. I'm very excited to be on the Everything Now show. I have a lot of important information to cover. So hopefully we'll be able to get through all of it. So who am I? What am I doing here? That's probably what you're asking yourself. My name is Oleg Gyalkan. I'm the creative director for N.A.H.A.M, right? N.A.H.A.M, are we familiar with N.A.H.A.M? N.A.H.A.M is the National Alliance for the Humans and the Monsters, right? So it's a coalition for the betterment of the humans and the monsters and a better public perception of monsters in the public at large. So that's a lot of words to say. I'm trying to make the monsters and the humans have a better time together, right? Have a better relationship, yeah? So we'll go ahead and introduce you to the team, right? Because we can't do this alone, right? This is a group effort, a global movement, right? And so there are a few members of the N.A.H.A.M teams that are helping me, and I will introduce you to them very quickly. First, we have Jeffrey Snodbugler. Jeffrey Snodbugler, president of N.A.H.A.M, he's the CEO, the founder, the head honcho of the business. Very smart guy, very strong investor, and very passionate about what we are doing. Other people involved in the project, Javed Ayube. Javed. I've not met Javed. Javed works remotely. None of us have actually met Javed yet. Javed is 14 years old, a whiz kid, right? A whiz kid. So smart, these children these days. Very excited to have Javed joining us as the chief financial officer of N.A.H.A.M. Very smart, very good with money. Also on the team.
That's incredible.
Oh, goodness. I always mispronounce this, and I'll do it again. Let me try to do it this time. And he makes fun of me every time I do this. But I hope I'm pronouncing that
That's
right.
just offensive.
I'm so sorry at home if I'm mispronouncing that. But he's a eater of souls, right? So when there are souls to be eaten, or when someone needs to be eating the souls, he is the one who's doing that, and it is a very valuable part of the team. Other people on the team, Godzilla, yeah, we know Godzilla, right? Yeah. Very important that we have gender equality on the board, and so we are very excited to have Godzilla. Not many people knowing that Godzilla is a woman, because Godzilla is very tall and very scary. To some people, they think, oh, that must be a man, right? No, Godzilla is a woman, and we are very excited to have a coalition of both male and female monsters and humans on the board. And so Godzilla is our foreign advisor. We're very excited about that. And of course, there's me, Oleg Gyalkan. I'm the creative director of N.A.H.A.M. And so this is the team, right? But what are we doing? And people always are saying to me, Oleg, what are you doing in this? It's a national team, but where are you from? Your accent is crazy. What is this sound that you're making? Where are you from? And to that I always say, where are any of us from, right? The important question is not where are we from, but where are we going, right? What is this journey we are taking? And to that I'll journey into our next slide, right? So what is our goal? What are we trying to do here? Well, we're trying to shape perception from something that looks like this to something that looks... I've gone too far. Thank you for taking me back. So our goal is to take a perception from the public from something on the left, right? The screaming and the yelling and the covering of the eyes when we see the monster. So something more closely to the photo Well, I guess on the right, because the first photo was on the left. So the photo on the right is supposed to represent where we are going, right? A handshake cryptically in some sort of dark park, public place, with a man in a suit. So let's talk about where this history of misunderstanding is coming from, right? Why are humans and monsters so diametrically opposed, right? Where is this aggression coming from? Well, of course, we are familiar with history, the Greeks, the Romans, the Hydra, right? The multi-headed beast. This history of aggression sort of continues into the Middle Ages, right? Yeah. Even into the new era, right? So we are seeing horror movies with monsters attacking people, often a very sexual undertones, right? The monsters are attacking the women are helpless, right? We see this with the swamp monster, we see this with Dracula, we see this with Freddy Krueger, right? So very bad public perception. It's making people afraid of monsters, right? Right, and this is continuing even into today, right? We are seeing this with the Babadook. We are seeing this with The Quiet Place. We are seeing this with It, right? And so again and again, culture is saying the monsters and the humans, they cannot connect, right? They are on two different worlds, right? And they are opposed. And so part of what I'm doing here is to try to bridge this gap, right? And to get rid of these misconceptions, these stereotypes, right? And so what is my job? I'm the creative director. So what does that do? Well, how can we fix this? The first step is to normalize the monsters, right? So part of my job is to create content like The Monsters, right? We know The Monsters. The Monsters is a TV show from the 1940s, the 1960s, 1964 to 1966. And this is a story of a monster family living much the same way that's an American family, right? The father, the mother, the children, all living happily together in one simple place. And American families at home, they see this, they say, oh, they're not so different from you and I, right? They're humanized, right? And so if we move on, we've got other types of content. Of course, the Monster Mash. All of us are familiar with the song, right?
Yeah.
If we could please, Professor, Dr. Teacher, if we could please play the music.
Oh, this is one of my favorites from school.
It caught on in Oleg.
They did the mash.
They did the monster mash. The
Right?
zombies were
Okay, so now we are familiar. Now we are remembering
That's
to
a
have
real
fun,
jingle.
right?
the guests
Thank you,
in the
Professor,
mash.
Dr. Teacher. We don't need that anymore. So the Monster Mash is a very important piece of culture, right? Because the Monster Mash is another step in the right direction. A lot of people don't realize there's some pretty revolutionary language in the Monster Mash. Let's take a closer look at the lyrics, right? So the Monster Mash, right? Early on in the song, we have this lyric. The zombies were having fun. The party had just begun. The guests included Wolfman, Dracula, and his son. Yeah, okay, Dracula and his son. Well, why is that highlighted? Of course, we see that this is again showing that monsters can have family values, right? Traditional family values. It's not just Dracula. It's not just Dracula drinking the blood, right? Dracula has a son. Dracula has a daughter, a family, right? It helps to humanize the monsters. And again, now everything's cool. Drac's part of the band, and my Monster Mash is the hit of the land. For you, the living, this mash was meant to. When you get to my door, tell them Boris sent you. Now this is another hidden sort of call to action. Yeah, everything's cool. Drac's part of the band, right? So what is that saying? Well, Dracula is part of the band. Dracula is one of us, right? He's participating in the band the same way that a human would. And so I think that's a very interesting perspective, something that we haven't seen in a long time. Yeah. So let's skip ahead through history. Yeah, see some other examples. The Goonies. We all remember the Goonies, right? The Goonies. This character, Sloth, right? He's very scary, right? But at the end of the movie, what do we think about Sloth? He's a hero, right? We love Sloth. And this is a very important perspective shift, I think, because when we are introduced to the Sloth, the children are frightened. They do not understand him. And Sloth represents sort of a gray area, right? Is he a monster? Is he a human? Is he a monster who looks like a human? Is he a human who is horribly disfigured and ugly? We don't know, but it's not important to the children, right? To the children's innocent eyes, the Sloth is simply another adventurer on the adventure, right? And so this is very important to sort of blur the lines between what is monster, what is human, what are all of us doing on this rock floating through space, right? And so finally, we've reached the modern era, right? A huge production, something that I was intimately involved with, right? The Monsters Inc. So we are all big fans of the Monsters Inc., right? We've all seen the Monsters Inc. This was a very, very important step forward because we explore the world of the monsters beyond the human world, right? We see things from the monster perspective, right? So the monsters aren't just scaring the children or hiding under the bed, but they have normal lives. They're driving buses, they're working in the power plant, they're dating, they're having complex interactions with each other. And this is very important for humanizing the monsters. Unfortunately, later on, we had the follow-up to this movie, which was The Monsters University. I didn't actually work on this project. I was removed from this project. And I think you can see where our interest sort of deviated here. If you take a look at the photo, there's 0 humans. And that's a huge problem, right? Because the whole point of the project is to show that monsters and humans can live together peacefully, and yet in the Monsters University, there are 0 humans, right? And so, of course, we want to normalize the monsters, and it's great to show the monsters going to college and doing things that humans do, but there's no humans, so it's still showing a separation, right? In my opinion, this is a step in the wrong direction, a step backwards. And so there's other content that we can talk about. One specifically that I'd like to cover just before I go is the NCIS. Yeah, we are familiar with the NCIS. This is an interesting subject because many people don't realize that monsters love the NCIS, and we're not entirely sure what it is about the NCIS that monsters are loving. There's no monsters, as far as I know, in the NCIS, but for some reason, the monsters love Agent Tony DiNozzo. They're big fans of Agent Tony DiNozzo. All of my monster friends are constantly asking me, when are we going to get a spin-off with DiNozzo? We love him. We want to see more of him. And so, again, I'm not sure what it is about the NCIS that is so compelling to the monsters, but I think it is worth discussing and looking into and creating more content, perhaps with some monsters, and maybe an NCIS Monsters version, a spin-off. We have NCIS Miami or whatever. Maybe an NCIS in the monster universe. Who knows? I'm not part of Hollywood anymore, but I think this could be something that might be worth looking into.